Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, if I got that camera when I was having my GH4, that would be like mind-blowing, like with all the features that it has, man. Like, it's so crazy. I took it on my on that Gold Coast trip I went to, and it was like so handy. Can't imagine having the S5 2X with me. Like, it just feels like work.
Welcome back to yet another episode of the Lumix Creators Podcast, where we talk to different Lumix creators about Lumix cameras and things that are going on in the industry. Today, we have a special guest all the way from New Zealand, Piotr, who creates amazing content on his social media. That's all these different hype videos. But specifically, we're going to be diving into today's topic sort of about those launch videos that Lumix is coming out with themselves. This is the guy who made the GH7 launch video, the 100mm video, and he makes a ton of other different launch videos for big camera companies. But without further ado, Piotr.
What's up? How's it going?
Good. I'm so excited to finally sit down. I was scrolling through our Instagram chat, and I think I was trying to get you on a podcast for March of this year or something like that. No, I mean, we were talking. You're in a different day than I am. You're in the future.
Yeah, I am from the future. That's currently.
Or I'm in the past.
So that's also true.
Depending where you're looking at. So I gave kind of the briefest interview of kind of who you are, sort of what you do, to my audience for context. Who are you? What do you do? All that good stuff.
Yeah, hey, so I'm Piotr and from New Zealand, doing a bunch of different things. So a bit of commercial music videos, a bit of content creation on YouTube and Instagram as well. And I recently launched my small little brand with camera accessories, so that's been a lot of fun. So yeah, just a bunch of little things.
But have your HDMI in there, and there's some pretty cool features with like the locking pins and all of that stuff. How did you kind of start that up?
Yeah, basically was trying to look for and buy some like cables that are rad just to, just add some extra color to my cameras, and I couldn't really find anything that's like good. So I then decided to like create my own brand and get HDMI cables made that are, hyper thin, good for gimbal use, so it's not dragging the camera down too much, and spice it up with some color. So yeah, that's how we started off.
Wow, that's hey, if you don't have a problem, just make it yourself, apparently, if it doesn't exist, huh?
Pretty much.
Nice. So I guess kind of leading into, this is a question I ask a lot of my first time guests. How did you personally get into the Lumix ecosystem as a whole, and what was that first Lumix camera?
Yeah, so I've started off with the Panasonic. I did grab it. Check this out. HTC HS60. It's like an old ass Panasonic Handycam. That's what I started off with.
I love that.
It's been an upgrade since then. So that was like 15 years ago, almost 15 years since I started on that camera. So it's been on Panasonic for a long time, and then upgraded to the GH4. So 4K, that was such a good camera. And after that, did a short film competition, and with that GH4, won a GH5. So that was sick, and then filmed so much on that camera. That was really good, stabilization and all that. And then slowly upgraded to like the S1 and then S5 and went to full frame.
And what's that current camera setup that is in your like everyday use?
Yeah, so currently doing most shoots on like the S5 2X and S5 II. So I rig them up like according to whatever shoot we do. So like sometimes it's a bigger setup with like anamorphic blazer lenses, easy rig and things like that. Or if it's a run and gun shoot, then just going small with the Lumix primes. GH7 a little bit less used these days, but still good for the slow-mo and all that sort of content. And the S9 for content creation. It's the like easiest travel camera that I've used so far, and it's great that it's so similar to the S5 II and 2X, like with like the menus and the whole user interface. It's basically the same, but you get the quality in such a small package. So that's why I have been using that one for so many times recently.
Yeah, I heard, this might be true, may not be true, but I heard that technically in the GH7 and in the Micro Four Third cameras, the 4K 120 is the only true 4K 120. A lot of other camera companies either like upscale or do some type of thing where it's not true 4K 120. And the 4K 120, when you need it, it looks so clean on the GH7. It looks so sharp. Why do you personally gravitate towards the full frame though? I am a little bit curious.
I guess it's just the versatility of like having the ability, if there is not enough light, I can just push that ISO to 4000 and not need to worry about it too much. Other than that, it's mainly that, low light capability. It's also a little bit of the bokeh. You can get more, and like at least you can get it easier on the full frames. With the GH7, you have to get like the speed booster and like the Sigma, which is basically the main setup I would use for that camera.
Now, kind of pivoting a little bit more into the conversation now, getting into the topic, you've been creating lots of content on your social media, and your content looks so clean and so good. And it's something I personally aspire to create, short form content, like how you've been creating this fun energy, fun, fast pace content. Now, when we were kind of talking back and forth a little bit, you've been primarily doing a lot of that now on the S9. What is that new workflow using the S9 that you've been using and cutting?
Yeah, I mean it's been a lot faster than like the original workflow. Like sometimes I use my phone to film some content, but when I want to get like a quality video out there, would usually use the S5 II to get that. But then you have to go through the color grading process, the editing, put it on the computer, and all that stuff. And recently I found I've done a few videos that like shot it on the S9. It's graded, with real-time Luts on camera, and then just drop it over Wi-Fi straight to my phone and just posted it from there, edit it on CapCut or whatever other editing platform I have on my phone. And yeah, dude, when the first videos came out, it's like, well, you just see like the same people like spamming the comments, like the same guy on multiple
Yes.
videos. I was
Oh
like,
my
what, dude? Like,
gosh.
chill out. Got nothing
I
better to do.
literally saw so many people. Luckily, I at least on my YouTube channel, I had I was watching some videos because I was curious. I haven't seen any of them in a while, and I was curious, like the one where I saw you guys to be in my videos. I was curious about all your thoughts again. And I was looking in the comment section. I'm like, bro, I've seen this guy in so many different videos. But then I see the same people from my own subscribers like standing up for me. I'm like, oh, my little supporters are here. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is so sweet.
Nice. I took it on my on that Gold Coast trip I went to, and it was like so handy. I can't imagine having the S5 2X with me. Like it just feels like work. Like I love the camera for like work stuff and that sort of things. Like I enjoy shooting on it, but like when you actually just travel and you disconnect from work and you just have the S9, it just feels so minimal and fresh and a lot, nicer to shoot on.
I know when I was going to Japan, I was like, I want to create so much like vlogging related content, and I didn't know that it was the S9 at the time. And but like I wanted to create stuff like I know Dustin did some really cool content at the plane. I wanted to create more of that content, but I felt
Yeah.
like I'm like, man, my S5 2X is like has a cage on it. The lens is the 24-70 from Lumix. Like it's just a beast of a camera. Adding a microphone on that, I was like, yeah, I don't want to take this out in public. I feel so awkward like just using it. If I went to Japan, I don't even like know if I would bring the S5 2X. I might only bring this camera.
Yeah, I think I would do the same actually. And I've got like some really cool lenses for it as well. Like I picked this one up in Japan. That's like the Voigtlander 35mm. Like this is so good. Like f1.5, which is crazy bright. It's so small in its full frame, and it is an M mount, so like you do have to have an adapter for L. But so tiny. It's so good.
Yeah. So I think the more exciting topic now, though, is you've done some official launch videos, not like you got the camera from Lumix. Now, I guess a little bit of context for the audience. Piotr and I are both part of the backstage creators or the Lumix backstage creators where we get to work with Lumix. They send out cameras, they send out things like the S9, send us to trips like the Lumix Collective, Japan, different things like that, get early access to gear. But PureTech is a pure genius over here, to say the least, and has done a couple launch videos for Lumix, including the GH7 and the 100mm macro lens. How did Lumix originally kind of approach you to potentially make these commercials for them?
Yeah, I mean, it started like off with like the original S5 launch where we kind of, started with the backstage. That's when I got invited to it. And slowly, we've been doing some content like just on Instagram and things like that. And after a while, I've done I don't know if you remember, we did that like collab post on Lumix that we passed over the camera, the S5 to
Yeah, we throw it
S5
over,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
drop
So
it.
that was like the first kind of like a little project that we've done, I think. And I also done a top 5 features video for like their YouTube channel,
Were you the one
about the
who,
GH6.
was it your idea to do the tossing of the camera and passing it around?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, I did
Almost
not
broke
even know
everyone's
that.
cameras. Yeah, yeah. So that was a little creative idea behind that
You
video.
know, now that you're saying it, this totally makes sense because I feel like there's so many random objects in a lot of your videos starting with them dropping out of the sky.
Yeah, so it all makes sense now.
It all makes sense. Okay, sorry, continue.
No, so yeah, that was the thing. Then did the GH6 kind of top features video that went up on the Lumix YouTube channel, and after that they approached me for because they liked that sort of video, that sort of vibe, and they approached me to do the 100mm launch video for them. So now we've created that.
And what was kind of that original process in creation and idea stages of creating the 100mm video before we kind of dive into the big one, which is the GH7?
Yeah, so like the main idea was just to show, the lens, not just because that's the macro, right? So everyone knows you're gonna get macro shots. So of course we're gonna get some of those, but it's also important to show what else this lens can do, like portrait photography, showing off the bokeh, the sharpness it can get, and also landscape photography. I actually enjoyed it quite a lot while being in the US shooting some landscape photos, which was quite fun on that lens. So yeah, it was about like, showing everything. And kind of like the pre-production process would be, to plan everything out. So let's say the video is like 1 minute, right? So you'll have each category kind of specialized for like, okay, this is going to be like the intro. We're going to have a compilation of all the shots that we shot on the 100mm macro. So all the pretty shots, and then we jump into the first sequence, and then I've listed up in the pre-production how this location, who we have for that spot, and the features that we show off for each lens. And that applies to like, both the GH7 video and the 100mm macro. It's just, yeah, a lot of pre-planning just to make sure every sequence has the right feature and everything shown in the final video. So basically, yeah, if you look at the pre-production plan, it's kind of the same, like, as the final video, just minor changes.
And it's much easier, I imagine, to show off the 100mm lens, which it's also not just a macro lens. It's a 100mm lens with macro capabilities, which is pretty cool. But the GH7, on the other hand, features-wise, is super, just a crazy amount of features. The list can literally go on and on, like ARRI log, which I assume then that means you were kind of one of the only people who knew before launch day that ARRI log was in it, correct?
Nah, actually not. So we didn't know about that feature as well. So we created a video based on all the other features that it had. And then Lumix had another video that dropped out just about the ARRI. So it's like a special separate announcement video, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, but again, it's still the 32-bit flow, 4K 160,
That's still
ProRes RAW.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the GH7 is like the dream camera minus the fact that it's micro four thirds. Turn that into a full frame and people are going to be going gaga over it almost. How long did that project take for you to, from start to like, all right, hey, here's this camera, we want you to create a video, to, all right, it's done?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, if I got that camera when I was having my GH4, that would be like mind-blowing, like with all the features that it has, man. Like, it's so crazy. But jumping back into the timing, that shoot was roughly 6 days, I think.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, all over the place. We've shot like in Auckland, in studios, in my studio here for the product shots. We also shot with Richard Wong in Japan while we were at the Lumix event. So right after we finished that, we went off to Tokyo. We shot a little bit of a sequence there, and also went to South Island of New Zealand. We had like 2 days shoot down there as well. Just out in the beautiful landscapes of New Zealand. So that took a while, and then also straight after the Japan trip that we went to was editing. So that was another, I don't know, week or so in the edits. Because you have to make landscape version, vertical, and all that stuff. So altogether, yeah, bit of a process.
I didn't even think about the editing when you were saying the Tokyo, like right after the Lumix Global Summit, which we were both at the Japan event, that
Yeah.
right after that, you had to, well, not only you filmed that, but then it was only 3 weeks between the S9 launch and the GH7 launch, I'm pretty sure. So that
Yeah,
means
dude,
you
it
had,
wasn't far off, and then I was
you
doing
had 2
still
weeks to basically
YouTube
pit
stuff at
together.
the same time, and it's like, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I didn't, even your YouTube stuff. Oh my God.
So it's a bit of a few
Dude,
things at once.
that's
That was
nuts.
bit of a
Cause
tight one.
yeah, because I mean, that video was like so amazing. And obviously, there's going to be links in the descriptions for people that are watching on YouTube where you can see the entire YouTube launch GH7 video or the 100mm video. But that's crazy that you had to create the S9 for you. You don't have to, but
Yeah.
of course.
But
Yeah.
I wanted to. I was like,
Yeah.
I was super excited with the camera, so enjoyed using it.
And did
to
you
make that
even know
happen.
about the S9 prior to going there? It's like you heard about the S9 sort of like the rest of us at that
Nah.
event. But you knew
Nah,
about the
so-
GH7 though prior.
Yeah. So I knew about
Was
the
it-
GH7 prior, but not the S9.
Was there any thought in your mind going to Japan? I guess they did tell us to bring full frame lenses, but or that it was full frame related. But did you think like, oh, they're launching the GH7 here too?
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but yeah, they did say bring full frame lenses. So I was like, I wonder, like, for me it might have like made sense to have both, but I guess they didn't in the end, so they separated the two launches.
Right, having people travel kind of all over the world, bringing 2 sets of different lenses, which is a whole different topic of micro four third and L mount and that whole issue. But
There'll be a lot
man,
of lenses coming.
So you're probably the only person that was like, besides working at Lumix, that knew like, oh, there's a micro four third camera launching in 3 weeks, and there's this potential full frame camera at that time coming out at the same time. That's a crazy thought to know. Man, you are the person I'm going to be sitting with at the next trip, apparently, very closely and talking to a lot then. So, kind of what was those initial, I guess, reaction then to the GH7? What was your first impressions of this camera? Especially, like you said, it's so feature rich. If you had this camera when the GH4 came out, everyone would be bonkers for the price point and everything now.
Yeah, dude. Especially like the 32-bit float. That's like a thing I remember. Even asking, I think Matt Fraser about like at one of the first like meetings we had, and I was like, oh, he was like, what's 32-bit float? And I was like, well, it's this thing where like the audio doesn't clip. And he was like, oh, cool. And then like, I'm not the only person asking about it. There's plenty more people wanting that sort of a feature in a camera, but it's just so cool to see that like, Lumix has listened to all those people asking about like a 32-bit float option and added that into their latest, GH7. So that was like a cool as feature to have and to see, coming in a new Micro Four Thirds camera. ProRes RAW is pretty surprising. I don't use it.
Yeah, it's a heavy Kodak.
It is a heavy Kodak, but it's just good to see that, it has it. Maybe Blackmagic RAW one day. We'll see.
Oh my goodness.
I would love it. That would be so cool. And what else is there? Like image stabilization is still, king on the Micro Four Thirds because with that small sensor, you get really nice stabilization with the, with all the lenses. If you combine the right lenses, that's even better. It's almost gimbal-like if you can walk the right way, and
I will say, like, I feel like the GH7 definitely is kind of like a sleeper camera. Like, for a lot of people, there's not a ton of content still around that camera out there on YouTube. But I think the only thing that, like, everyone's like, oh, if this was full frame, this camera would be perfect, basically, Or alternatively, for me, if this camera was Micro Four Thirds, but with an L mount, like instead of a MFT mount, that also opens the doors of like, hey, you can use your S5 2X and your GH7 and use the same lenses on both systems. That was like a thought I had. I'm like, that would be nuts. I don't know. I'm not an engineer at the end of the day. Kind of what are your hopes then? I'm curious for the next flagship full frame that comes.
next flagship full frame. Oh man, that's like I mean, for me, the main thing, actually, the thing that I found like with ergonomics in the design at the moment in the S5 IIX is basically when you fold out the flip screen, it hits the HDMI port. That's a thing that like really bugs me on like bigger shoots when I have the camera rigged out and I have my monitor, and especially with anamorphic shooting, I use my like main big monitor on top of the camera to monitor my shot and like the framing and everything. But to get critical focus, I usually like would punch in, and I have just a punch in image on that small screen. So having that one like not being able to tilt it up because I have that HDMI plugged in, it's just a little bit annoying, like a little bit, you gotta go like behind the camera a little bit. So if that, can like pop out like that GH7 screen, which is fantastic, you just pop it out and then you can, tilt and shift it while having that HDMI plugged in. That's like actually the biggest like difference maker like for me. But also 4K 60 no crop. The classics,
Yes.
everyone says that.
Like 4K 120, I don't know. It's nice to have it when you need it, but it's not so necessary.
Yeah, that's the thing I found. Like when I had the GH6 GH7, I used to shoot just like everything slow-mo, and like all the videos kind of looked the same. And like the S5 II made me shoot more 25 frames per second content, and sort of slowly realized that's a better way to do things, and it looks more organic, natural. So I actually enjoy shooting 25 and not actually reaching out for that 50 that much anymore. But it would be good to have.
I'm still like just hoping for like some 4K or not 4K, 6K open gate, 60 frames a second for slow-mo vertical / horizontal. Oh, that would be like, that's like the feature that I'm like most excited about.
Yeah.
So kind of one more question, but before we kind of land in this other question and talking about that, where should people kind of go check you out, and where's all the good places that you want to send the good folks that are listening right now?
Pretty much my YouTube, Instagram, so Master of Camera, you'll find me there, and my personal Instagram, Quasing Pictures. So that's pretty much the two main spots, Instagram and YouTube.
One thing that I know from you is that you collaborate with a ton of really cool brands. Like, just name a few just for the audience. There's like June, right? I believe.
Julian, yeah, they do gimbals, lights and stuff. Bill trucks.
Lumix, obviously.
Lumix, Panasonic. And there's also like the clothing brands that we've done some videos for as well, which are like overseas clients. So
now, so I think what is really cool is like you have this kind of brain and mindset of creating these high quality commercial product videos that are showing off in these major tech companies, like you said, in the clothing brand. How would you recommend someone kind of doing something similar to what you are currently doing right now?
yeah, I think having a good portfolio is really important. And if you don't have one, make one. You can anything, like creating spec ads and things like that is quite good to have, a nice portfolio of what you can do and accomplish, and just keep learning. Learning never stops.
But also, even I'd be curious to hear sort of the technicals perspective. Like we were mentioning, like that you were working on a video, and we don't have to say for what, but how you would change the song like 10 times in one little thing just to change the pacing. Can you touch point on that a little bit too?
Yeah, like it's important like to change pacing like throughout the whole video, like with editing. Yeah, for that specific video it was like 10 different songs almost in like a 2-minute, 2.5-minute kind of a launch video. So it's just cool, when you watch the entire video, you keep the audience kind of interested in that video more as you change the songs. I've done it, many times where it's like just one song, which is cool. It keeps the same vibe, but yeah, having that variety is really nice as well.
Now I'm curious, do you like use any specific platform when you're doing this? Do you like look for keys for songs so it's in the same key or similar tempos or anything like that? Or are you just...
Oh man, like looking for songs is just
it's the hardest thing ever.
Time consuming process. Like like finding 10 songs, the library, I think I have like 100 songs in my folders, and I basically like batches. Like on day one, I'll be like, okay, batch 1, folder 1, and I have like maybe 15 songs in there, and then like, all right, none of them work, sweet, cool. And then next day I go to like get more songs and just try them out. And it's really like scene dependent. Like you can tell straight away if the song's gonna work or not, and it's like 99% it's not working. So it's just like the struggle of looking for that one song that is actually going to work is the worst. But once you find it, it's quite rewarding. But I do use like 2 to 3 platforms, just because one is like never enough, I find. So it's like Artlist, Audio, and Epidemic Sound also. So it's like,
which are all
Italy's
great
free.
platforms.
Yeah, which are all great platforms, but it's still hard.
It's so hard. I know I personally spend on my projects like almost a day just looking for music and like playing music in the background. It's like, I know Epidemic has an app, and I know Audio, and I believe Artlist talked about making an app, but like having an app to listen to music as you're just driving and favoriting songs as you're going, or like working out like this song, like, oh, it's so much work to find like the perfect song to a specific video unless you are getting it completely composed. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this little episode of the Lumix Creators Podcast. Appreciate you having you on.
Man, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And if you guys want to check out another video where I'm talking to the man himself, Sean Robertsons, check out that video right there. And then YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Till next one, guys. Peace. Cool.
Hey, do the thumbnail faces. I haven't done the thumbnail faces.
Oh, I thought you already did.
What do you
Okay.
want?